Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Simon and you are watching my first ever speed build video for The Sims 4. It's so great to see you here. So some of you may already be familiar with my builds from Instagram, where I started to post to about 2 months ago. I've been building in The Sims for a little longer than that, however. I decided to finally share my creations on social media after I've grown increasingly frustrated with the little amount of downloads my builds got on the gallery. You know, a build takes time and is a lot of work, and I just wanted it to be seen by some more people than that. And you know, when I began posting on Instagram, the feedback was pretty amazing, and I'm so glad that I'm, part of this community now. And yeah, it just felt like YouTube would be the next logical step, showing you guys my creative process and how I build things, what techniques I use, and so on. So yeah, shall we just get into it? And I'll tell you a little bit about the modern house that I've been building. So I got the idea for this house from a picture that I saw on Instagram, Pinterest, I don't know, I don't remember. And it was this modern house that looked like boxes stacked on each other, but the house was built into a hill. And while you can do that in The Sims with, those debug hills, I didn't want to go for this kind of look with this build, and rather I decided to make it a freestanding house. Yeah, so I had to adapt the design accordingly. It was also one story more, and I just didn't like the proportions of the house then. Sometimes it's a little difficult to translate an existing build from the real world into the game because of the limitations of the build mode, and you can't really replicate it perfectly. But to be honest, that's what I like, or what is beneficial to my creative process. I might start from a photo, but it turns into something totally different along the road, and then becomes my own, so to speak. And with this one in particular, there was no back of the lot because it was built into a hill, so I had to come up with that from scratch. And also the interior, I didn't have any reference of what it looked like inside. So even if the inspiration sometimes comes from something existing, it will never be a perfect replica. That's also why I'm not putting a reference pic on the side here, because I think it sets the wrong expectations. It is not about how close I got, but how it looks on its own. But hey, if you recognize the house, you can tell me in the comments below. So here you see me putting all sorts of greenery into the planters that I made from platforms. And I took these all around the house to kind of continue the idea of stacking boxes, and I really like the look of it. And now we're moving on to the interior, and you see me decorating the entry-level floor. There is a living room, there is like a small bathroom, and also an open kitchen. For the kitchen, I really wanted to incorporate this drawer from Laundry Day and use it as a sort of stand-in for a kitchen counter by shrinking down and hiding some regular counters inside of it. You see me playtesting it here, but the sim just won't use the microwave. So I tried this out a couple of times, and I had to ditch that idea, unfortunately. I think of all the objects, the counters are the most sensitive. Sims just won't use them if you have them overlap with other objects, unlike, chairs and other kind of furniture. Yeah, but I used the drawer anyway and put a wine cooler inside of it and some decor. But that's sadly not really what I intended though. I do want the houses I build to be fully functional so people can actually use them for their gameplay. That is very important to me. I feel like it kind of beats the purpose of building a house in The Sims when, people can't actually have their Sims use all of the objects that are in it. So I look out for that. Okay, as you can see here, I tend to clutter a lot in my builds, but I have to say I don't really love it. It is very time consuming, and once I get started, it is really hard for me to stop. I just want it to look very detailed and lived in, and that takes up a lot of time. Most of that time comes from browsing through the catalog and finding the right items. And I know that some people save rooms with all the clutter items that are suiting a specific type of room, but I don't find that all that useful, because oftentimes I'm building on very small lots, and then you don't even have a place for that room to really be put, and you also have to go back and forth from it all the time. So that is really why I don't love the process of cluttering that much. What I love the most for interior design is a very efficient look. So doing the least and achieving the most, that is really the perfect way to decorate a room to me. And sometimes I achieve that, but most of the time I just then start cluttering, and it takes up a lot of my time. So we've reached the top floor by now. Here's a bedroom and a small study nook, and it feels like I only ever use 2 beds. This one from City Living and that other one from Seasons, the one with the small headboard. I will use that one later on, and that has been some sort of mistake, but I will get to that once we reach that point. So you see me going in and out of live mode here a lot because I'm using Tool, and Tool really is such a fantastic mod to have as a builder. Here I'm using it to move those pictures that are snapping to the wall a little bit inside the room so that those wooden beams would no longer peek through it. And that is only one thing. You've seen me use the red shelf as well for cluttering, but there are certain debug items that are not able to be placed with the red shelf because they are not snapping to a table surface. So when you want that specific debug item, so mostly it's like a bottle you want to place, you'd have to adjust that manually by obviously using the keys to move it up and down. But this way it is not very precise, so sometimes you have like this small gap underneath the bottle and it appears to be floating over the shelf. And to kind of correct these little things, it is great to have Tool to have a really finished and polished look by the end. But what I might use Tool the most on are these wooden beams from Eco Lifestyle, and I rotate and resize them with Tool to create all kinds of designs and decor. Here I use them to frame a mirror, later I use them for a headboard. I love to manipulate them with Tool and use them for all sorts of things since they're so versatile. They're also like a recurring theme in my modern builds and make an appearance in almost every one of them in some way or form. I just really love the texture they add, especially to the outside of a build. I wish we had some more items like that, as the walls itself are often just so plain. And with these structured decorations, you can make them so much more interesting. So I skipped the decorating of a couple of not so interesting areas. Under the staircase, there's a small sitting area, for instance. Also, the balcony next to the kitchen has a grill on it and some chairs, but it's not really too exciting, and I didn't want this video to become overtly long. But you still see most of it in the cinematic shots that conclude the video later on, so you still get to see everything, basically. So next we're moving on to the rooftop, and I left a little space there for a garden. And for that, I went to the gallery and got me some harvestable plants because I didn't want it to be all decorative plants. So again, I wanted to be functional and to have a purpose. And I put also these vertical planters there, for the same purpose. So it would actually be usable and your Sims would have something to do in this house. And the rest of the rooftop patio is pretty simple. There are just those lounge chairs, and while it doesn't really make sense to put towels underneath the lounge chair, I like the texture that it added to the floor. And speaking of textures, the wall on the right is pretty plain now. I It went through a lot of changes because I didn't like the look. And I show you one near the end of the video, but afterwards I changed it again. So the version that you see in the cinematic shots, that is the final one. And that is also how you can download it from the gallery. And here we are in a garage for you to park your non-usable car, going from a usable garden to like an unusable garage. I didn't even put a door in, so it's actually not, you're not able to enter it. So everything you've seen me build so far here was the upper apartment of this build. So it's actually a small apartment building. It became an apartment building once I didn't find a suitable place for a staircase to go downstairs, to go to the base level floor. And then I just thought, you know, you have this door next to the garage anyway, so it could just be like a second front door for a separate apartment unit, and that's what I eventually did. So the base level apartment next to the garage is actually like a single apartment unit. Oh yeah, and this bed. So what I usually do is to limit the number of packs I use, and here I forgot that I wasn't using seasons throughout the entire build, and then I went on and placed this bed. Once I realized that, I couldn't find a worthy replacement for it, and then I just upped the limit and allowed myself to use seasons too. I limit myself to a handful of packs because I figure it makes a build more accessible or available to more players to put it in a game. Not everyone has all the expansions, and I don't really feel it is all that necessary to use them all in one build. So I usually pick the ones that are essential for the design. For this one, this would have been Eco Lifestyle because of the steel columns and also the large sliding door on the patio. And then I just add some more packs along the way whenever I need something, but I keep it to a limit of, I don't have a number, but you know, I guess 10. 10 is the most. Yeah. The less the better. My most downloaded builds on the gallery has, I think, 3 packs. So maybe there's something to it. I really didn't investigate it all that thoroughly, but yeah, I just like them to be a little bit more accessible. So you don't download the thing and it comes, you know, totally messed up with base game items replacing all the items that I actually used. Okay, so we're approaching the finish line. This is the last bit of interior to decorate, and then another patio. I used some no custom content artwork from the gallery. I will give the creators' names in the description below. Also, I will mention the creators of the Sims that I used in the following cinematic shots. You can find the building on the Sims 4 gallery. My ID there is Taffissimo, so the same as this channel's name. You can find me on Instagram under Taffissimo_builds for additional content. I would really like to hear your thoughts on the build in the comments below. You can also tell me about your approach to building. Maybe you have some questions of how I do certain things or some tips on using a tool. Go ahead, just ask me. For the next video, I'm planning on doing a stop motion build. I have something interesting in mind for that. So go ahead, tell me what you think of that idea. And yeah, like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.